Now, live with Greg Olsen, Director of the New York State Office for the Aging.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Greg Olsen. I'm the Director of the New York State Office for Aging. Really excited about the program we have today. It's unfortunate that we have to do a program like this, but we really do. According to the FBI, cybercrime cost Americans 50 and older nearly $3 billion in 2020. The AARP released a report recently, in the last couple of months, that financial exploitation across the country costs victims 60 and over $28 billion. I'll let that sit in for a second. $28 billion. They also found that 60% of the perpetrators are somebody that an older adult knows, and 40% are somebody that they don't know. So what we're seeing is a rise in the number of individuals that are perpetrating scams and fraud against older adults in the category of folks that they don't know. In recent years, scammers have used increasingly sophisticated methods to get you to act on their ill intent and provide documents, things of that nature. Financial scams all have one thing in common. They prey on an individual's trust to obtain information that can be used to steal money, property, and other assets. Just yesterday in the Schenectady County paper, what we saw was a woman who was taking care of her father, primary caregiver, who had power of attorney and wound up stealing $300,000. The only way that it was found was nursing home that the gentleman was in wasn't getting paid. There was tax liens on the house, and that got the rest of the siblings to take action and confront the person. And they're awaiting sentencing for this individual. So I am really, really excited to have our two guests today. Justin McCabe, he's a return guest. Justin, how are you? He's a former police officer and a criminal investigator with New York State. From the lifespan of Greater Rochester, as you can see, one of our great partners. We also have Sheila Brewer-Montero, who also is with Lifespan and has worked in human services and corporate security throughout her career. So to the two of you, thank you so much for being with us today, and really look forward to the advice and guidance that you can provide to folks, because some of the solutions to not be defrauded are fairly simple, but we have to be out in front all the time talking to people about what not to do so that you can protect yourself. But before we get into the content today with Justin and Sheila, we want to focus on some of the things that older adults have found vital to their social connections through NYSOFA's partnership with a great community learning platform, lifelong learning, classes, etc., through Get Set Up. So take a look at this.
My name is Linda, and I just love connecting with people. Raising a family is the thing that I'm the most proud of and the most happy about. When my daughter left the house, I was just extremely sad. Didn't really know what I was going to do with the silence that was around me. Get Set Up was kind of a dream come true. Yoga classes, health and wellness, travel. I was able to be transported to Australia, Africa, Europe, all the things I love.
Now, if you're fortunate enough to live in New York State, anybody over the age of 50 can use this platform for free. And I want to thank our friends at Get Set Up for their longstanding partnership with us at the State Office for Aging. So Justin and Sheila, again, welcome to the show. You guys both have interesting backgrounds that I think led you to the work that you're doing today. So I'll start with you, Justin. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in scam prevention, mitigation, education, et cetera.
I was a police officer before, and then I also worked for New York State DMV, where we did fraudulent document identification. I got interested in scams probably in the last 10 years. That seems to be when they really hit the mainstream and started seeing people lose a lot of money. Started with Lifespan and started doing presentations and just love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Sheila?
I spent about 23 years in human services jobs, and then I also had the opportunity to work in corporate security, which is where I really got interested in cybersecurity. And the opportunity came along with Lifespan. I love doing presentations, and we also work one-on-one with victims, and it can be very rewarding. I've been with Lifespan for about a year and 3 months.
Well, that's outstanding. And Sheila, you probably don't know, I started at Lifespan 33 years ago. So we have a long history before it was even called Lifespan. I got a shout out to Anne Marie Cook, who's the CEO. She's a great friend, great organization, and has great employees like you guys that are doing really incredible work. So tell me a little bit about now the work that you actually do at Lifespan.
We do, our job is two parts. We do presentations throughout New York State to older adults. We have 4 different versions of our presentations. So we go to senior centers, retirement centers, all different group organizations, churches, community events, and do presentations on scam prevention. We also do one-on-one case management with victims of scams. So if you're a victim of a scam, you can call us. Our services are completely free. We will work one-on-one with you to help prevent the scammers from calling you anymore. We help get your identity locked down. We can help you place fraud alerts, write letters to the banks with you. We can also get up to, it just raised from $500 to $2,500 back from the New York State Office of Victim Services. Because we are victims advocates, we can apply for those that service for victims of scams. So being that it's now $2,500 is quite a boost and helpful if you've lost a large amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sheila, similar for you?
Yes, very similar. About half of my job is doing presentations. I just wanted to add to what Justin said. We do presentations both in person and virtually. I think that's important for the audience to know. And as I said, I spend the other half of my time really working one-on-one with victims.
So I don't think that folks really understand the amount of information that's available and how sophisticated groups are, individuals, in really being able to scam people. Can you talk to us about what are some examples of the most common scams that you see? And I know they're always changing and evolving. But what are the things that you guys see the most?
Right now, we're seeing a lot of romance scams. Sorry, Justin. Right now, we're seeing a lot of romance. Okay. We're seeing a lot of romance scams right now. A lot of times, the scammers will reach out to their victims on some social media platform, for example, Facebook, and they'll ask to be friends with the person. There's a lot of red flags. A lot of people, don't realize that their Facebook settings are not set to private or only friends. And they don't realize that their posts can be seen by anyone worldwide if it's set to public. One of the first red flags of a romance scam is that what I just said, the stranger reaches out to you on social media. Secondly, there's often a huge age difference between the person that's being reached out to and the scammer. The other red flag is the person that is befriending the victim often claims to be overseas, stating that they're in the United States military. They might say that they are an oil rig engineer or they work on an oil rig. They might say they're with Doctors Without Borders, one of these charity organizations. And so they want to come see you at your home in the United States, and they want to spend, their life with you in the United States, but they don't have money to come see you. So what happens is people start sending money, and there's a lot of promises made about, I'm going to come to the United States, we're going to be together. But something always comes up and the trip is never completed. The person never arrives. So right now, to give you kind of an example, I have around 10 cases open and 9 of them are romance scams.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that's really what I'm seeing a lot of. Now, I work primarily with victims in the southern tier of New York City, but we work with victims in whatever county we find them. We provide guidance and support. So there's other counties to the west that I've also worked in for victims.
So it's amazing. Out of your case is 90% are romance scams. Justin, you're on a little bit of a delay, so I will say your name first so that you know the question's going to come to you. Outside of romance scams, what are some of the other types of scams you guys see?
In general, we'll see imposter scams. Those are right now the highest reported scams. This is where I call you up and I'm a police officer from out of state and there's a car, it's got drugs and guns in it and it's registered in your name, so we're going to come arrest you. Or I pretend to be from the FBI. There's a million other ones they'll do. I call you up, I pretend to be Social Security, the IRS, basically where you're pretending to be usually an authority figure of some type, law enforcement, a large government agency. The other ones we see, the grandparent scam is still quite large. Now with some of the new technologies they're using, they are kind of revamping some of the scams to make them even more believable. The grandparent scam. We do see military scams. I would say the largest portion is going to be imposter scams in general that we see. The largest amount of losses usually come from romance scams because 50% of all scams are romance scams. So those do lead to losses in the United States, though.
And, you talked about, impersonation or imposters. So can either one of you talk about, like federal agencies, other types of agencies, and what they will never do? So like if you get a message from the IRS or Social Security or Medicare or potentially your bank, right? Those types of places never would ask for any personal information. So if people get things like that, what should they do?
So the first line of defense is really, sorry, Justin.
Nope, go ahead.
What we tell people repeatedly is if a number comes up on your phone and you don't recognize it, don't answer it. The other thing that's important to know is that scammers can spoof what it says on your cell phone screen. So for example, I worked with a victim who got a call, and when he looked at his cell phone, it said Social Security Administration. And the person got on claiming to be with Social Security, told him that his Social Security check was going to go up $1,000 a month starting the following month. All they needed to do was to confirm his identity. So he shared all his personal information, including his Social Security number, which then ended up in identity theft for this particular gentleman. So we worked together to help him recover from that. That's one example of an imposter pretending to be from a government agency. The IRS is another common one.
One of the other things you can do is make sure whenever you get text messages or emails and they purport to be from a real company or government agency, never click links within text messages or emails, and never call the numbers in text messages or emails. I'll give you an example. If you get, let's say you bank at Chase Bank and you get a text message says there's some fraudulent activity, please call them, and it purports it's Chase Bank. Don't use the phone number that's in the text message. Pull your credit card out, flip it over, look on the back, and call that number. A lot of times the scammers, their first thing they want you to do is just get you to call them and make you believe that there's someone else. So they'll send out literally, 50 million emails and text messages to, half the U.S. to try and get them to respond on that. One of the other things to remember is government agencies won't call you on the phone. IRS, especially federal government agencies, Social Security won't ever call you on the phone. So the second you get a call from the IRS or from Social Security, hang up the phone. It's a scam. One of the other things we tell people a lot is, in general, police are never going to call and threaten you on the phone. If you're part of an investigation, they're not going to call you up and tell you you are. This is what the scammer will do because he's trying to bait you. So never be afraid. if someone calls you up and says they're with the FBI or they're a police officer, never be afraid to call 911, have an officer come to your door and say, hey, look, someone on the phone just said that they're with the FBI or just said they're a police officer. Can you just verify with them? And that can protect people quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the simple advice the two of you provide is, I know people would get scared if they got something from the IRS or from Social Security. So, it's almost a gut reaction to do something. But, what you guys are saying is spot on. And we say the same thing all the time. If you don't recognize a number, don't answer it. If it's somebody that knows you or they'll leave a message. So, there's always a second step. Don't click those links in your text or in your email, or spend a couple of minutes just to verify, because it saves a whole, bunch of problems in the future. And, to your point, especially with AI coming, I think it's going to be really interesting in terms of voice matching software where you sound like somebody that I know, a daughter, son, et cetera. But there are very easy ways that you guys described to not take action that's going to wind up putting yourself in harm's way. I can remember early on in the pandemic, there was a text message that was sent out. A woman lived in Vermont. She got the text in Florida because she was there for the winter, and it had my name in it. And so she looked me up, saw what I did for a living, and thought that it was legit. And then, of course, clicked the button. We saw in Tompkins County a text go out that looked exactly like the local emergency management, text. So just not clicking those, or, as you said, the telephone, don't call that number, back of your card, don't click any of these links. Talk about the one on the computer, because I think that that gets us a lot of older adults who especially aren't tech savvy. And I don't propose to be tech savvy, but the one that says that there's a virus and you click, can you talk about that one as well? Because that also happened to somebody in my family.
Sure. The tech support scam, they're really insidious scams. They usually start in one of two ways. One is you're on any website and blinking lights come on, virus found, virus found. It usually gives you a phone number to call. You call that phone number, they're going to purport to be tech support. First thing they're going to want is remote access to your computer. Once you give them remote access, they'll purport that they're tech support. There's a virus or some hackers in your machine. What they'll really be doing in the background is they'll be downloading everything from your computer, getting anything off it they can. A lot of times they'll have you log into your bank account. Well, because when they have remote access, it's like you gave them the alarm code to your house. They can do everything. They'll turn the cameras on, so now they're watching you. So one of the things we tell people quite often is, one, if you get those blinking lights popping up saying virus found, best thing you can do, reboot the computer. Never give remote access to someone you don't know, especially over the phone. But let's say you do. What do? Best thing to do, close a laptop. If it's a laptop, unplug it from the wall, take it to a local repair shop, somewhere where you can see a person face to face. Tell them what happened. They can remove the remote access software from your machine. The other way that these often start is I call you up and I'm Justin McCabe with Microsoft or Apple, and we've noticed some hackers in your machine. The scammers will do that quite a bit. Realize that Microsoft and Apple are not going to be calling you on the phone to do tech support randomly out of the blue. No one's individually monitoring your computer unless you have antivirus software on there. So the second you get a call and it's Microsoft or Apple, just hang up the phone. It's just a scam.
Great. Good advice. Okay. We're trying to prevent, obviously, people getting fleeced. And I hope that we're able, with your help and our help, to do that. But we know that people will. So if somebody is a victim or thinks that they know somebody who's been a victim and maybe is afraid to say something, what should they do?
Justin, do you want me to start this one? So
Sure.
the first thing that we tell folks to do is to report it. which is hard for a lot of people because maybe they don't want to report it. Maybe they have reasons why they don't want to report it. The first thing we would do is ask them to make a police report to whoever their local police department is. We also make sure that they report it to their bank or whatever financial institution is in question. It might be credit cards, it might be their bank. We also ask them to report it to ftc.gov, the Federal Trade Commission's official website, and that's on the screen right now. Yeah, we also will tell people to report to the New York State Attorney General's office. One of the difficult things that we run up against is a lot of times people won't tell their family members or their friends what's happened. And so they're kind of living with it, and they don't have the support that they really need during that time. But they can also, of course, reach out to us here at Lifespan so that we can walk them through the process of recovering from having been scammed.
Yeah. And, I think that, well, I don't think I know, and you guys know as well, there's more to it than lost property and, potentially funds. You're talking about physical health impact,
Yes.
mental health impact, depression.
Absolutely.
And, I want people to understand that you're not stupid if you fall for one of these. This is a science, and it's extraordinarily sophisticated. So, if you do feel like you've been a victim, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call any of those resources. I'm going to ask Darren if he could also put into the chat. The FBI has a top 10 scams that constantly is changing, that you can read about anytime. And there are many of the things that are being talked about today. Justin, with new technology, like, you never say in 2018 versus where we are today, just to see the types of platforms and technology that have evolved just in the last 5 years has been, really unbelievable, and how fast they change. What type of new technology is being used with scams?
The two big ones out there, well, actually three big ones. They're using AI. For years, one of the big telltale signs of a scam in a letter form or a text message was errors in grammar. So what they're doing a lot of times now is scammers usually follow a script. So they're calling hundreds of people and they're following the exact same script. Well, those scripts would have many times errors in grammar and spelling issues. So what they're doing is they're going to ChatGPT and they're running it through and having it correct all the grammar issues and correct the scripts. The other two big ones we see is voice cloning. That's been a big one between the grandparent scam, several different imposter scams, and then deep fakes, which are video versions of basically a video version of a voice cloning, which they're using for virtual kidnapping.
All right, so you gotta run that by me again. Go tell me again what the AI deep fake is.
Okay, so deep fake is basically it's a video, or it could be like, for instance, they could do a deep fake of me talking right now. It would basically show my mouth moving and saying whatever they choose me to say. So with AI technology, they can make it say whatever I want to. So you could make a deep fake video of me being tied up saying, "Please help me, I've been kidnapped." And you won't be able to tell the difference between the real video or if it's real or fake. The voice cloning is another version that they do as well. Voice cloning is basically where I'll give an example. I call up, I record your voicemail. So I got about a 15-second clip. I run it through any of the voice cloning technologies out there, and I can now make your voice say whatever I want it to say. So I can write a 2-page paragraph saying, a conversation, and I call your daughter on the phone, and it's your voice now saying, "Hey, I really need money. Could you please help me? I need to borrow some money. Can you cash at me $100?" And it's your actual voice saying it.
So I remember when the U.S. Senate was holding hearings on AI, they opened it up with somebody cloning Senator Blumenthal's voice from Connecticut. So is because we are doing this and have a social media presence and my voice, you can hear my voice, we can hear yours. Can they take that? Can they clone based on anything that's available? I mean, that's really scary.
Yes.
Absolutely, they can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In fact, for one of our presentations, Justin asked each of us on the team to read from a book and send him the audio clip. And then we wrote a script together and he did the AI part, which is very simple to buy online. What is it, Justin? $15 or $20 for the software to clone someone's voice?
Yeah, it took me. Most of them are free now, and it took all of 5 minutes to do. And again, you can just call and record your voicemail. Call, record your voicemail. You run it through. There's a million different free online sites to do it. And whatever you type, your voice will now say. So it's almost becoming difficult to discern reality when it comes to some of these scams, because it could be your actual voice calling or your daughter's voice or your grandchild's voice actually calling, talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really unbelievable. I want you guys to talk a little bit about the gift card scam, but also just in general, what are the payment methods that scammers typically ask for when they're trying to perpetrate this fraud?
Sheila, would you like me to go real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So there's 5 primary methods of payment that are used. One is gift cards. So no legitimate company or government agency will take a gift card as a method of payment. So the second someone even whiffs to you on the phone that you should pay in gift card, it is 100% a scam. The next one is cash in the mail. Basically, as soon as you put cash in the mail, I want you to think of that money is gone. These are all different ways to launder money. So that's why the scammers are asking for them. The next one is wire transfers. These are interbank transfers from one bank account to another. Once they're sent out, they can't be recalled. The next one are Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, any peer-to-peer payment method. These are basically an app you put on your phone. It links to your bank account. It draws money from the app and sends it to another person who has that same app and deposits it in their bank account. The last one is cryptocurrency. A lot of people don't even know what cryptocurrency is. You don't really need to when it comes to scams, because all they're going to have you do is go to a Bitcoin ATM, which looks just like any normal ATM that we would know. And instead of swiping your card and taking out money, this is the opposite. You take, let's say, $100, you put it into the machine. It spits out a receipt or a code. You send it to the scammer. He's now got that $100. And these are all ways to hide the trail of money between the scammer and you. So once your money's gone in any of these methods, you won't be able to get it back.
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, I'm still old school. I don't have any of those apps. I still pay in cash. I still write checks, and I never put them in the mailbox. It goes right to the post office. But it's amazing to me how smart and sophisticated all this is. And you really have to just be vigilant that, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And like you guys said, just be smart. Don't click, double check things. It takes no time to do that. What is maybe the top couple of things that, and if you need to reiterate something you said before, that's fine. It's really avoidance and protecting oneself. What are the key maybe 3 to 5 things that somebody can do to make sure that they don't become susceptible to this?
I would say number 1, do not answer phone numbers that you don't recognize. That's the biggest one. Also be careful, because the phone might ring and it might have your area code number. So you think it might be someone that you know. But like I said before, the scammers can spoof what shows up on your cell phone screen, So don't answer it just because it happens to be in your area code. Those are my two big ones that I really emphasize during my presentations. Justin, you want to describe some other ones?
Sure. We usually will tell people be the referee. What we mean by that is always making the call. So if I call you up and I'm Sam Smith with Chase Bank, and real quick before I speak with you, I need to verify the last four of your social. You always make the call. You're always the caller when it comes to financial information. This way, you'll always know who you're talking to. The clicking links in emails and text messages and not those are very strange methods of payment that the majority of America does not do on a regular basis. So if you get asked for one of those 5 payment methods, red flags all day. And then I would just reiterate with what Sheila had mentioned. If people want to talk to you, they'll leave you a voicemail. Never be afraid to just screen your calls as often as you can. And just because someone says they are on the phone does not mean it's true. Realizing that those people are out there, or that there are scammers out there who will try and trick you in every different way, when especially via phone. Just realize that just because someone says they are someone on the phone doesn't mean they actually are.
Right. Yep. Great advice. All right. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to get to some questions from the audience. But I want to ask folks out there a question. If you had an opportunity to get $7,000 put back in your Social Security check, would you do it? I know that I would. So take a listen to this.
Hi, my name is Heather Leddick with New York. Hi, my name is Heather Leddick with New York State Office for the Aging Health Insurance Information, Counseling, and Assistance Program. The Medicare Savings Program is a program designed to save Medicare beneficiaries up to $7,000 annually. For those of you currently receiving the benefit, don't forget you may need to renew. Notices can come from your local Department of Social Services, your Medicare Advantage Health Plan, or New York State of Health. Don't miss out. Return your renewal form today. You wouldn't want to lose out on this important benefit that helps save you money. If you have any questions in regards to the renewal or the Medicare Savings Program, you can reach out to HICAP at 1-800-701-0501. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Heather. Thanks for all that you do, your team, and all the HICAP counselors throughout New York State. Before I get into questions, I'll start with you, Justin. Is there anything that I didn't ask you, or that you want to say or just reiterate before we get to the questions? And then Sheila, the same question for you.
I would just reiterate how bad scams are getting. Every year they're going up billions of dollars. From 2022 to 23, they went up from $8.8 billion to $10 billion loss through the FTC. And just being aware that these are out there. Education is what the big push with the federal government is, to try and stop these. The majority of these scammers are outside of the country. So enforcement is very, very difficult unless they find, criminal groups within the U.S. And then another thing to remember is it's not something to be ashamed of. I think as society, we don't treat scam victims like we treat violent felony victims. Usually a scam victim feels a lot of fear, shame, and guilt. You have to realize that these are criminal groups of people. It's usually not just one person scamming you. It's several different people all working together as a team, and they're planning it out. So the fact that you might have become a victim of a scam, it's no different than any other crime to be a victim of a fraud. Yeah,
thank you. Sheila?
I think the biggest thing is to make sure you tell someone if you're experiencing a scam currently or you have. Too many people don't report these scams, and they suffer really in silence. So speak up. Anytime someone tells you don't tell anyone, that's a huge red flag, okay? In a romance scam, for example, the person might say, don't tell your family about us. They won't understand our relationship. So don't suffer in silence. Reach out to someone and tell them what is going on.
Yeah, and I think that romance scam, we all do a lot of work to try to combat loneliness and isolation, and that is absolutely a byproduct of, people that don't have anybody to talk to or don't feel connected. Alex, do we have questions from the audience? There we go. What are some red flags of the romance scam? And I think, I know you talked about this, but given that it's so pervasive, I think going through it again is important.
Okay. So number one, someone befriends you on social media, a complete stranger, for example. Okay. Number two, they often claim to be from overseas. They're in the military. They work on an oil rig. They're with Doctors Without Borders. Number three, there's almost often a very large age difference. I'm talking about 30 years or more, right, of an age difference. I would love to come and see you, but I don't have the money, right? Another way that romance scammers get money from their victims is they claim to be experiencing some kind of personal emergency. My grandson needs surgery, but my family doesn't have the money to pay for it. Can you help us, right? Or I had a terrible accident at work. I can't afford aftercare when I leave the hospital. Can you please help me? Don't worry, I'm going to pay you back. Save all your receipts. I'll pay you back, right? Some of these romance scams go on for 2, 3, 4 years. And the person has never actually met the person in person, face to face. They've only ever communicated via text message or email. Maybe they've had a voice call. And a lot of times romance victims will say to me, but I talked to that person on the phone. And I'll tell them that that person probably got paid to talk to them on the phone by the scammer, posing as the person that they had supposedly fallen in love with online.
Wow. Thank you. Alex, other questions? What can I do if I'm a victim of a scam?
Justin, you want to field that one?
Sure. One of the first things you need to do is you need to file a local police report. So you've got to call 911, have an officer come to your door, get a police report. You need to document somewhere that you are a victim of a crime. Once you get a copy of that police report, the next thing you do is report it to the federal government, going to identitytheft.gov. There's what's called an identity theft affidavit. You fill that out and you take copies of those two reports and send them to everyone you have a financial relationship with, putting them on notice that you're a victim of identity theft. One of the next things we'll tell people often to do is to lock down their credit. So first we have you pull your credit report for red flags of identity theft. These are names addresses or phone numbers that aren't yours. Under your credit report, there's a section called hard inquiries. A hard inquiry means someone put an application in your name. So we would have you go through and look for any hard inquiries to see if any applications have been put in your name that would be a sign of identity theft. You could also place a credit freeze. We'd have you call all 3 credit bureaus, put a freeze on your account. This would stop anyone from taking out credit in your name. A lot of times what we see is the scammer will scam you, try and get you to give them money willingly. But in that meantime, they're getting information out of you. Maybe your name, maybe your social security number, maybe your address. After you've cut them off, they may start applying for things in your name, trying to commit identity theft. The next thing you can do, you can call us. There's also, if you're outside, we cover a 12-county area for cases. But outside, there's the National Elder Fraud Hotline, which does pretty much what we do through the Department of Justice. So you can call them, and they basically will do exactly what we would do. We would walk you through each one of those steps if you're a victim of a scam.
And what do you guys think of, because, the process, Justin, that you just talked about with credit freezes is one that I had to do. I was fortunate. I bought an app, and I'm not going to say the public name of it, and within, I'd say over a year period, I had 5 different instances of people trying to take credit cards out in my name. So, it was through the credit check. So I had to do all of that. I have found it for me to be extraordinarily important to have something like that, because I had no idea that these things were going on. What do you guys think about tools like that can identify things before they happen?
I think they're very useful. A lot of times, if you get many people get a letter in the mail when the data breach happens saying, your information's been leaked, and they'll usually give you a free year service for some of the different services that are credit monitoring services. That's a great thing to sign up for. You can do the same yourself on your own by pulling that credit report. I keep my credit frozen all the time. It just makes it easier for me because I don't have to worry about identity theft when it comes to debt fraud and credit card applications being put in. And then if I want to use my credit, I unlock it or unfreeze it, I should say, and apply for whatever I need. And then the next day I freeze it again. But I think they're very, very helpful. I don't know, Sheila, what Sheila thinks about it.
I agree. And the website that we direct victims to is annualcreditreport.com. It's annualcreditreport.com. And don't let the name fool you. There was a point in time when you could get your free credit report once a year. But since COVID occurred and scam activity spiked worldwide, now you can go to annualcreditreport.com, and I believe you're allowed to check it every 7 days for free.
Wow.
So that's one of the first things we do with our victims is we help them do that. Some of our victims are more tech savvy than others, but that's what we do. We direct them to that website, and, they have to answer some security questions to prove their identity. And then, we take a look at their credit report with them. We sit down with them side by side, look at those hard inquiries that Justin mentioned before, just to make sure no one has, opened a mortgage in your name or tried to buy a car in your name or whatever, opened a credit card in your name. So that's a really important piece of what we do to, provide technical assistance to victims.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Here's a question. Thank you, Debbie. One week we were called every 2 hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We were told to say, don't call here again. Now that they record your voice, do we just hang up and say nothing?
That's a great question. A lot of I will get these kind of questions during presentations. And I always tell people, as soon as you realize it's a scam, hang up. You know what I mean? Because right now I think it's less than 20 seconds they need of your voice. And as AI progresses, as the artificial intelligence progresses, they're going to need less and less time to be able to record your voice. So hang up. And you don't have to be polite about it, right? You can just hang up.
Yeah, or don't answer.
Or don't answer to begin with, which is always the number one rule.
What is the highest reported scam in 2023?
For New York State, it was imposter scams. I believe there's a slide that lists the top 5 scams in New York State for 2023. Number 1 was imposter scams. Again, these are people pretending to be from some government agency like the Social Security Administration, the IRS. They might be pretending to be from your local bank. And we talked about that a little earlier. Hang up the phone right away. Go to your wallet, get out your bank card, call the number on the back, because it could be someone posing as your bank. They might also be pretending to be from a utility service that you use, your electric service, your gas service. Imposters can really pretend to be anyone they want. They might say they're from Medicaid or Medicare, right? And they need your information to send you a new card. Those are very prevalent. I run across a lot of those cases as well.
Great, thank you. And I think that's our question. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to absolutely thank Justin and Sheila for being with me today, but for the work that you do and all the people that work at Lifespan and in this field, not only in New York, but across the country. It's horrible. I don't think it's getting better anytime soon. And so keeping this information in front of people is really, really important. Anybody who's listening today, send this to everybody that you know. We're talking about how older adults can protect themselves, but this is really things that can happen to anybody at any age, not just older people. So, share it with your friends, put it on your own social media, help get the word out that it's not as complicated as you think to avoid being scammed yourself, but it gets extraordinarily complicated when you make a simple mistake like providing that information, clicking that link. And I think the advice that Justin and Sheila provided today can really go miles in helping you to protect yourself. So Justin, Sheila, thank you guys so much. It's great having you do the work that you do, and certainly our partnership with Lifespan. I want to thank our communications team for always making this production amazing, Roger, Darren, and Alex. And we're going to probably see you maybe in May, but our next program is about really with the break that we saw and this amazing partnership we have with the platform Get Set Up, and how you can access that not only to learn more and to connect with people, but even to teach your peers a skill that you may have. So again, everybody, thanks for joining us. Please make sure you share this and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Live with Greg is a production of the New York State Office for the Aging Communications Bureau.